Thank you for allowing us to present the presentation we made on the ancient civilizations of China. I'm Miranda.
I'm Nathan.
I'm Jalal.
I'm Nicholas.
Culture was a very important part of the culture to civilizations in China. Writing is a huge part of the culture there because it's very different and unique from all the other things that they did. It's very different from any other system of writing. They actually don't have an alphabet. They used symbols that they had to memorize for the representation of words. So if they wanted to say bird, it would be different than day or night. So they had a symbol that they had to memorize for every word. This is a picture of examples of words in Chinese. To learn it, to read a newspaper in Chinese, you have to know about 3,000 symbols. The average person in China that's lived there their entire life knows about 5,000. A professor that can teach you an entire book, how to read it, how to write it, only knows 8,000 symbols. And 50,000 exist, so if you think about it, a professor that teaches you how to speak in this language doesn't even know a fifth of how many there actually are. This is a picture of a Chinese newspaper. And this is a picture of a book in Chinese. The technique to write in Chinese, you have to have a brush with ink on it, and you hold it upright so the brush always stays very horizontal or vertical, and it depends how much pressure you use. So at the beginning of a line, you would put more pressure than in the middle of the line. They started out using shells of tortoises, and then they went to oracle bones, and then they went to bamboo strips, and then they started using paper, which was still in this dynasty. Paper was created, and it is one of the four important things that they've ever created in Chinese history. This is how you write day in Chinese. So of course you would start with the lines, and you put more pressure at the beginning and at the end of a line than you would in the middle. The history of Chinese calligraphy is that they started out writing on tortoise shells, and they would carve the words into a tortoise shell. And then they started using oracle bones, so they could actually tell the future by reading these oracle bones. They would have cracks in them, and you would take it to a fortune teller, and they would be able to tell you the future, basically. This is a picture of a tortoise shell that they've written on. And this is a picture of an oracle bone. Many people didn't go to school. It was mostly boys that had wealthy parents. They would learn how to read and write and learn how to grow up and be a gentleman, basically. And the women would stay at home and learn from their parents and their moms how to work around the house and how to sew, how to clean, how to take care of their children. And that's what it was like a lot of times. This is a picture of an ancient Chinese school. As you can see, they're wearing the traditional clothing that they would wear. And please allow Nathan to present climate change.
So basically, how the climate works is kind of like completely opposite from how it works here in America. The north is like hot and the south is cold, as here. The south is warm and the north is cold. That's why like New York has like all that snow now. And you know, like when the temperature changes, it can be really detrimental to them because they have glaciers there and stuff, and even like if the temperature were to go up 4 degrees or down 4 degrees, the glaciers come out and they can flood the Yangtze River, which is like the biggest river out there and stuff like that, and that can like really affect a lot of people in China and how they live and just daily life for them. So climate is a very big thing for them. And here's talking about geography in the Yangtze River.
During ancient China, there were many types of landforms and waterways. One of the
the rivers was the Yellow River, and it is called the Yellow River because the mud made it look yellow. And the Yangtze River is the largest river in the world. There were frequent floods, but the people always knew how to deal with them. Geography. The Gobi Desert, people did not actually stay at one place, but they had to move and find water. Himalayas, it protected people from invaders. On this map here is the Yellow River and the Yangtze, is the largest river in Asia. During ancient China, people liked to paint a lot, but they mostly painted pictures of birds and flowers. And they also loved jade, which was a jewelry, and it was very rare, but people loved it. They thought it was very important, and it was used as a symbol in Chinese literature. There was even a saying that gold is valuable, but jade is invaluable, only because jade is very precious. Wu Chang'an was an author during the Ming Dynasty. He wrote books like Journey to the West, which is about a monkey and a priest and their journey to India. Other books written during the Ming Dynasty were Water Margins and 3 Romance Pieces. Fashion. What you wore depended on your status. Like, if you were rich, you would wear silk. But if you were not rich and you were caught wearing silk, you would get trouble. Some of the activities they had during the Ming Dynasty were cricket fighting. Basically, they had to make both of the crickets angry, and the most aggressive cricket would win. They also did cockfighting, which is 2 chickens. Martial arts. They did martial arts to practice and improve their well-being instead of trying to show off. And in this video, it tells of how they train crickets.
Man Shiguang is checking in on his 70 prize fighters. He's been raising and fighting crickets for over 40 years, and some of his most valuable insects are worth around $1,500 a piece, which could get expensive because crickets have a lifespan of about only 100 days.
I raise crickets as a hobby because I admire their positive spirit. They never admit defeat. They have a fighting spirit, so we all like them.
Not unlike boxers, these fighters are fed a high-protein diet and are trained for competition. And after the weigh-in, it's time for the matches. The insects take a bit of coaxing, but they're soon locked in fierce battle. Each team was allowed to have 35 crickets, and after 2 days of combat, Man's insects won all their bouts. Not enough for his team to take the trophy, but certainly something to chirp about.
We need the class to be divided into 2 teams.
How about on from this side?
So basically, you guys get what to do. You guys can only use one leg, and whoever puts the other leg down first loses. So who would like to do it? Sam and Alex can be on a team. Caleb and Jacob, Hussein.
Do it back here.
You guys can do it back there.
Flip the camera? Should I record this?
No. Oh my god. Hold on. Oh god, this is gonna be bad. Who's going first? I'll go first. Alright, first one to put their leg down. Ready? And can I play? Yeah, here we go. Oh shit.
Are you using Miranda in the background?
Nick.
Get aggressive.
Get aggressive. Yeah. One more. No, somebody else. And then we gotta stop.
Ready, go.
We just gotta be done. That's why this should be the last one.
Ready?
Oh, they're sizing each other up. Oh!
Oh, I think you got hit. So I guess it's time. Y'all both do this. Woo! Sam, you know I actually have a future before you did it.
Public balance without matching.
Yeah!
Y'all are gonna get somebody hurt.
Okay, alright, back here. Hey! Chicken fights are over.
During ancient China, the people, every New Year they would eat dumplings, and every fall they would eat cat squirrels. Sweet potato and corn were brought by pirates. They were sweet by pirates, and also potatoes. The people ate a lot of food. They ate ducks, fish, turtles, eggs, all types of animals. Rice and noodles became a very popular dish. And here is
Alright, religion is one of the most, like, the first types of religion. Its uniqueness came from its isolation from other cultures and religions because of mountains, rivers, seas, and
Please
the Great
excuse
Wall.
this
I haven't
announcement.
gotten into the Great Wall as much.
Just a few reminders. Everyone should be in their 6th period, and we should have some focused work taking place. For those of you that are not attending, so for those of you that did not participate in our can collection, you will be going to the GeoCAD room. Make sure you bring your laptop, and that you will be, we'll just spend that hour working. So it will be like a study hall. You're not being punished, but if you chose not to participate in the canned food drive, you'll report to the GeoCAD room. We will not release to the auditorium until 1:30. When we do release, those of you that have a Wayne Class 7th period, you will need to put your things away and stay in the GeoCAD room until it is time to release the 7th period. Again, we are not releasing until 1:30. We will need to move quickly to the auditorium. We have a list of students that will not be attending, so please be respectful and go to the GeoCAD room if you are on that list. I appreciate your patience and your support. Thank you.
Alright, gods and goddesses. The highest god who had control over everything was the king of heaven. There isn't a certain amount of gods because each god would lay with their brothers, sisters, mothers, and daughters. Kind of got lonely in the castle. Ew. But each god governed their own like powers. It was usually a natural element or like a trait. Like the Junhu, he controls fire and he punishments. So anybody that angered the gods, he would punish. The impact of religion, it impacted their arts, their clothing, traditions, writing, because throughout all of China there was civil war everywhere, and they needed something to like make themselves peaceful, because throughout the whole like year there was this war. Qin Shi Huang was the first emperor. He was the Jade Emperor. He was named that because everybody thought he was like the son of the King of Heaven. He died of old age because no matter how hard civilizations outside of them, they could never get close to him. You may know him from all those stone soldiers and the horses. He built that after his death because he thought he would like revive and stuff. Those would be his soldiers, but he's not. He's still dead. The rise and fall. A group of Jews sent mercenaries down to China to try and convert their religion into Christianity, because the Chinese religion was like beginning to control a lot of area and it became theirs. So they tried to like stop them in a certain area and they succeeded, but it only had a minor effect. Alright, government. Each area was governed by a warlord. Every warlord tried to attack another warlord's area and govern over it. That's what I meant by there's war everywhere. Every warlord would fight another warlord. That warlord would fight another warlord. They would alliance, other alliances. It was everywhere. Military conquest. Villages outside of China began to like alliance with China, and then they moved near it and they would form into China. That's why Jewish sent monarchs to like stop them in a certain area, because people started to join the Chinese because they became very powerful. Laws and rules, it was pretty much obedience to elders and your parents. Follow rules, no disrespect. The punishments, they would beat you with a wooden bat. They would put a wooden plank on your neck, and it would like stick to it, and your neck would lock in, and you would sooner die if you moved it at all. And well, death.
Agriculture. So rice was the first grain grown in China, and it's like the basis for all like Chinese food and such. And you know, around that time when they were growing it, they just started boiling it like how we do, and they just ate it like that, and they started making rice wine. And then green tea grew wild in China, and it still does. And around 3000 BC is when they actually started drinking it and making it, so I guess they were just like, let's just drink this, guys. Fruits, as far as fruits goes, they had oranges, lemons, peaches, apricots, and anise. And anise is actually found in licorice nowadays in America. Economy. Shells were the first amount of currency that they had, but they started not using it anymore around the Shang Dynasty era because they just started becoming more scarce in China and in areas in China. And then copper coins were the most known, the best known for Chinese currency back in the day. They were very economically efficient because it was very easy to make the ones with the squares in the center. And they began around 475 BC to 221 BC. And the first paper money ever, which was called jiaozi, it was made in China and used in China, and it ended, and it started in the early, the North Song dynasty. What they traded salt, iron, fish, cattle, and silk. And the first emperor actually made a system of weights just to make sure that everything was even when they traded it and such. And he also started making roads for the carts to travel back from place to place, area to area, and so on and so on. This is Miranda with our timeline.
The last thing that we're going to present is our timeline. There are just a couple of important dates that we'd like to show you guys. Of course, July said that jade was a very important thing in these times. It was created in 5000 BC and it's still used today. The first evidence of writing ever in China was 12,000 BC. Well, 1200. The terracotta warriors that Nicholas mentioned were created in 210 BC, and they're still found today. And something interesting about them is that the emperor that created them was very harsh, and there were actually skeletons found in the tombs because he killed them with poison and left them there to die because he was very terrible. I think that's all I want to show you guys with that. We don't really have time to show our documentary, and it's not finished yet, so.
You want to explain what you're doing with it, though?
With that, we're going to take the culture importances of China and incorporate